Hello and welcome back to Tinker Talks Guns. For many years, when consulted as to the idea of carrying a Derringer for self-defense, my advice has been, don't. But if you must, carry a High Standard double-action Derringer. And that is this wee beastie here. High Standard introduced these in 1962 as the D100 22 long rifle with a blued finish. In 67, they introduced the slightly improved D101 and DM101 in 22 long rifle and 22 magnum respectively. And of course, the 22 long rifles will also fire 22 long or 22 short, though I'm unclear as to exactly why you'd want to. To me, a Derringer is an idea whose time is frankly long past. Most of them are single action, which is problematic in a do-or-die route, self-defense situation. And really their greatest utility is what we refer to as a get-off-me gun, where it's being fired in contact distance. And this is maybe one of the better examples of something that's suited to that, being as it's double action. So there's no cocking the hammer first. You just place the gun where you want it and pull the trigger twice quickly, and you've got 2 shots of 22 long rifle. For what that's worth. Now, High Standard started in 1932 and produced a variety of well-regarded 22 semi-automatic pistols and target pistols, and branched out to double-action revolvers, made M16s for the United States military, even made the J.C. Higgins line of pump-action shotguns for Sears Roebuck, and then later introduced them under their own brand when the J.C. Higgins line was discontinued in 1961. So they had a lot of experience, and generally speaking, were pretty well regarded as a firearms company. And this was a bit of a departure for them. But it's a very thoughtful and rather innovative departure. Now, after they folded their doors in '84, ownership has passed to various people, and I believe currently resides with American Derringer. And for a time, there were 38 special versions of this made, which were not terribly successful. And it's still out there floating around, the designs, and it's not impossible that this might be reintroduced again at some point. Although I seriously question its utility. I have to say, though, when I was a police officer in the 1980s, quite a few cops I knew had one of these in their right front pocket as a backup to their backup, last-ditch desperation thing. And in at least one example, that saved a cop's life. So we can go all day about their utility. Let's show you some of the unique and innovative features of this gun on the table. The High Standard Derringer is not a tiny, tiny gun. It actually has 3.5-inch barrels, which helps make better use of the 22 long rifle chambering. Most pocket pistols at the time had 2-inch barrels, so there's a definite advantage there. However, it is 5 1/8 inches long by 3 and some odd inches high. So it's not, as I say, it's not tiny. It is, in fact, comparable in size and slightly longer in the barrel than standard pocket pistols at the time. And the real advantage it was perceived to offer came from the fact that 22 long rifle was not plagued with the unreliable ignition that it often is today. And it was viewed as, sure, it's not the smallest thing out there, but it's 2 shots for sure. And accuracy, as shown earlier, is really surprisingly good. There are a lot of very expensive Derringers out there today where the barrels don't hit anywhere near each other, and these actually hit quite close. They're well regulated. Now, to unload and show clear, you pop this lever and you can open the gun and show that there's nothing in the chambers. And if you pop this up, it pops the pair of long rifle cartridges out very nicely. And of course, to load it, just close it, drop your 2 cartridges in, close it, and you're ready to go. Let's unload it again. I don't have dummy 22 ammunition. And as you can see, it ejects the cartridges with some enthusiasm, which is no bad thing. Now, one of the innovative features of this is this configuration of the breech. So the firing pin moves very little, changing from rim to rim to fire up and down cartridges. And yeah, you can pull the trigger, but it's a retracting firing pin, and it happens so fast you don't really get to see it when you dry fire it in the open position. But this small amount of movement means that what they have here is a gap between the 2 cartridges where the firing pin strikes, so it doesn't strike the frame. So you can actually dry fire these for practice, which is pretty useful. Now, this is an older example, so it's well worn in, and the trigger pull is not by any means light. But it's actually quite smooth, and as you saw, not difficult to get decent accuracy at relatively short range. The sights are nothing much. A very shallow notch in the rear, very short post at the front, which I have painted orange in deference to my aging eyes. And really, that's most what there is to it. Again, it's not small compared to pocket pistols of its time, but it is very, very thin, and a lot of fellows carried them with the grip panels removed because there's nothing structural or functional about the grip panels. They're just there. And as you can see, with the grip panels removed, the gun's about 1/2 inch thick. So it could be quite flat in your pocket. And I've seen guys put things like grip tape on this, just on the frame, and use it that way. And it seems to work quite well. I have no intention of carrying this, so I'm just going to leave the stock faux ivory grips, white plastic, just as they are. And I have to say, I'm surprised and gratified by the accuracy. And I expect I am going to burn a fair amount of 22 long rifle ammunition, seeing just how much accuracy I can wring out of this thing at 7 yards and maybe even further. Yeah, keeps me off the streets. This one, you can tell, is one of the earlier guns because it's labeled Model D100, 22 caliber. High Standard Derringer, and was made in Hamden, Connecticut. Yes. So, now, one of the popular ways to fire these was to place your finger alongside the barrel and actuate the trigger with your middle finger. So you just point at what you want to hit and work the trigger. And that works reasonably well. But I actually find the gun points very naturally if I'm using my trigger finger. And so, that's kind of my go-to method. Also, in a hurry, I could easily see myself extending my finger past the end of the barrel and getting an unpleasant burn on top of whatever else is going on. So, there it is. By 1962, when these guns entered production, the age of the Derringer was already long past. But despite that, with its combination of the double-action only trigger and other desirable features, these were well regarded and widely used by law enforcement and for civilians. And it's simple, it works, it's reliable, and they weren't dreadfully expensive. So they had a lot going for them in some respects. Nowadays, most Derringers made are based on the old Remington pattern from the 1860s and are chambered in anything from 22 long rifle to 4570 government, which is utterly absurd, and people pay a pretty penny for them. But they're really more of a firearms novelty, curiosity, or conversation piece these days. I don't recommend carrying one for self-defense. And your mileage may vary. I don't intend to carry this one, but I do intend to have fun with it. It's a cool piece of history, harkens back to the halcyon days of my youth, and they did good work for a lot of cops and not a few civilians. And I'm going to have fun with it and enjoy it for what it is, and maybe for what it's really not supposed to be, because, as I said, I intend to see if I can push the limits on accuracy, and it's all good fun. Thank you very much to my Patreon supporters. You really help make these videos happen. And if you'd like to consider supporting me on Patreon, there is a link below in the description. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Anyway, I hope this finds you well. Stay safe, take care, and we'll talk to you again real soon.